classmates, welcome to International Microeconomics. Today we will continue to learn Section 4 in Chapter 5, the Balance of Payments 2. We will focus on the following issues. First, how the balance of payments accounts work, a microeconomic view. Second, the double entry principle in the balance of payments. We will discuss these issues one by one. First, how the balance of payments accounts work, a microeconomic view. We have just found that the macroeconomic level CA plus KA plus FA equals 0, a very simple equation. Another way to look at the BOP is to look behind these three variables to the specific flows we saw in Figure 1. In fact, we can get three equations. CA equals EX minus IM plus EXFS minus IMFS plus UT in minus UT out. KA equals KA in minus KA out. FA equals EXAH minus IMAH plus EXAF minus IMAF. The components of the BOP identity allow us to see the details behind why the accounts must balance. As you can observe from these equations, there are 12 transaction types, each preceded by either a plus or minus sign, and 3 accounts CA, KA, FA in which they can appear. If an item has a plus sign, it's called a balance of payments credit or BOP credit. 6 types of transactions receive a plus sign as follows: current account CA, exports of goods and services EX, exports of factor services EXFS, unilateral transfers received UT in, capital account KA, capital transfers received KA in, financial account FA, exports of home and foreign assets EXAH, EXAF. If an item has a minus sign, it's called a balance of payments debit or BOP debit. 6 types of transactions receive a minus sign as follows: current account CA, imports of goods and services, imports of factors services, unilateral transfers given. Capital account KA, capital transfers given KA out. Financial account FA, imports of home and foreign assets IMAH, IMAF. Now, to see why the BOP accounts balance overall, we have to understand one simple principle. Every market transaction, whether for goods, services, factor services, or assets, has 2 parts. If party A engages in a transaction with a counterparty B, then A receives from B an item of a given value, and in return, B receives from A an item of equal value. Thus, whenever a transaction generates a credit somewhere in the BOP account, it must also generate a corresponding debit somewhere else in the BOP account. Similarly, every debit generates a corresponding credit. It might not be obvious where the offsetting item is, but it must exist somewhere if the account have been measured by probability. But in the real world, it's impossible to check every single international transaction correctly. because of measurement error and omissions. Some problems result from the smuggling of goods or trade tax evasions. Large errors are likely due to the mismeasured, concealed, or illicit movement of financial income flows and asset movements, for example, money laundering and capital tax evasion. To account for this error, statistical agencies create an accounting item, the statistical discrepancy, SD, equal to minus the error, SD equal minus CA plus KA plus FA. With that correction, the amended value of the BOP identity will hold true in practice, sweeping away the real-world measurement problems. Once the statistical discrepancy is included, the balance of payments accounts always balance. Second, the double entry principle in the balance of payments. We can make the double entry principle more concrete by looking at some mostly hypothetical international transactions and figure out how they would be recorded in the US BOP accounts. Suppose George is a citizen of USA. Case 1. George traveled to Paris. He spent $110 on French wine one evening. This is a US import of foreign service. George pays with his American Express card. The bar is owed $110 or €100 by American Express, and AMEX is owed by George. The United States has exported an asset to France. The bar now has a claim against the American Express. From the U.S. perspective, this represents an increase in U.S. assets owed by foreigners. The double entry in the U.S. BOP appear in the current account and the financial account. CA, drinks in Paris bar, minus IM, minus $110. FA, bars claim on AMEX, positive EXAH, positive $110. Case 2. George was in the bar to meet his Danish cousin, Mike. They both work as wine merchants. After a few bottles of wine, George enthuses about Axos Chardonnay and insists Mike give it a try. Mike counters by telling George he should really try some Jutland Rose. Each cousin returns home and asks his firm to ship a case of each wine worth $36 to the other. These barter transactions involving non-financial activity would appear solely as two countries in the U.S. current account as follows. CA, Axos wine exported in Denmark, EX $36. CA, Jutland wine imported to United States, negative IM, negative $36. Case 3. Later that night, George met a French entrepreneur in a smoky corner of the bar. George vaguely remembers the story. The entrepreneur's French tech company was poised for unbelievable success. With an upcoming share issue, George decides to invest $10,000 to buy the French stock. He imports a French asset. The stock is sold to him through the French bank BNP, and George sent them a US check. BNP then has a claim against the Citibank, an export of a home asset to finance. Both entrants fall within the financial. FA, George's French tax shocks, minus IMAF, minus $10,000. FA, BNP claim against the Citibank. EXAH, positive $10,000. Case 4. Rather surprisingly, George's French stocks do quite well later that year. They have doubled in value. George makes a $5,000 donation to charity. His charity pledges U.S. relief supplies that will be exported to a country suffering a natural disaster. The two countries here are entirely in the U.S. current account. The supplies are a non-market export of goods offset by the value of the non-unilateral transfer. It can be recorded as follows. CA, relief supplies exported EX, positive $5,000. CA, George's charitable gifts, minus UT out, minus $5,000. Case 5. George was also pleased to see that some poor countries were benefiting from another kind of foreign assistance, debt forgiveness. The U.S. Secretary of State announced that the United States would forgive $1 billion of debt owed by a developing country. This would decrease U.S.-owned assets overseas. The United States was exporting the developing country's assets. It hands the concealed debts back, and credit in the financial account. The double entries would be seen in the capital and the financial accounts. KA, U.S. grant of debt relief, minus KA out, minus $1 billion. FA, decline in U.S. external assets. EXAF, positive $1 billion. From above 5 cases, we can see that the balance of payments account consists of the following: the current account, which measures external imbalances in goods, services, factor services, and unilateral transfers; the financial and capital accounts, which measure asset trades. Using the principle that market transactions must consist of trade of two items of equal value, we find that the balance of payments accounts rarely do balance. Surplus on the current account side of the BOP accounts must be of asset by deficit on the asset side. Similarly, deficits on the current account must be offset by the surplus on the asset side. By telling us how current account imbalances are financed, the balance of payments connect a country's income and spending decisions to the evolution of that country's wealth, an important connection we develop further in the final section of this chapter. That's all for today. See you next time.